Hello, U.S. historians. So today we are going to talk about the events prior to the United States joining World War II. Okay, so there's a lot going on in Europe. Okay, so first off, Adolf Hitler is going to clearly violate the Treaty of Versailles by instituting a military draft in Germany. Okay, remember, Germany was required to reduce its standing military. So in 1936, Germany, again in violation of the Treaty of Versailles, is going to occupy the Rhineland. Okay, this is a portion of land that borders France. In 1938, Germany is going to reclaim territory that it lost in the Treaty of Versailles, that was now part of Austria. And then in 1939, Germany is going to first take over portions of Czechoslovakia and then eventually claim all of Czechoslovakia, again claiming that these portions of land contain large numbers of German people. As this continues, Germany is going to form an alliance with Italy. Next, Nazi Germany is going to sign a non-aggression pact with Russia. What this means is that they have both agreed to not attack one another. Now, why this matters is that in September 1st of 1939, both of them are going to invade Poland. Okay, Germany is going to invade from the west, Russia is going to invade from the east, and meet kind of in the middle and agree not to attack one another. Now, at this point, this is the kind of final straw. Britain, France, Australia, and New Zealand are going to declare war on Nazi Germany. Okay, so the question that I have for you, and I'm going to ask you to do this in your notes, is to decide of these events, when is the quote-unquote correct time that Britain and France should have declared war on Nazi Germany? Okay, should they have declared it sooner? If so, which event should have been that red line? Or was it Germany's invasion of Poland? Okay, so I want to show you the visual of what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about of Germany invading the Rhineland, or not necessarily invading, but putting troops in the Rhineland. Now you see them taking over Austria, portions of Czechoslovakia, and eventually claiming the entire territory. Okay, Italy is also practicing aggression here by taking over Albania. Okay, Germany will invade Poland from the west. As you see here, then Russia will invade from the east. And at this point, okay, you have then the beginning of World War II as countries choose sides. Okay, Great Britain and France, okay, will become part of the Allied powers against Nazi Germany. Okay, where Nazi Germany and fascist Italy will be part of what is known as the Axis powers. Okay, so now, not to forget other parts of the world, you also have conflict going on in Asia. Okay, so in 1937, Japan is launching a full-scale invasion in China. Okay, a particularly brutal event of this time period is what's known as the Rape of Nanking. Now, Nanking is the capital city of China at this time. Okay, now why it's referred to as such, the event Rape of Nanking, is because over 300,000 civilians are killed in this occupation. Okay, part of the reason of this is because the Japanese believe in this concept of racial supremacy, similar to Nazi Germany. Okay, they're also infuriated because of the resistance that the Chinese soldiers, the difficult resistance that they did in preventing, a quick invasion of China. Okay, by 1940, Japan is going to join Nazi Germany and fascist Italy as part of the Axis powers. And really kind of the motivation behind this is Japan is an island nation, and they're fearing kind of a lack of resources. They feel like they're practicing their own form of imperialism. So where does the U.S. fit into this, right? Well, we're practicing neutrality again. Okay. So as we've said, there's a lot going on in Europe and Asia during this time period. Okay. Now, for a little bit of context, the United States is in the middle of the Great Depression in the 1930s. So most Americans want the United States to focus on issues within the United States, not focusing on issues happening around the world. Okay. In fact, 67% of Americans thought that our involvement in World War I was a mistake. Okay. If you look at this political cartoon, okay, you see Poland, France, Denmark, Norway, Greece, Yugoslavia, Holland. All these countries have fallen to Nazi Germany. And eventually, Nazi Germany is going to start bombing and attacking England. Okay. And here we are as the United States just kind of ignoring this, thinking, oh, this won't affect us. Okay. This is actually a Dr. Seuss cartoon criticizing our neutrality, thinking, oh, this won't affect us, when in fact, we will get pulled into this war. Okay. So what I want you thinking of is like, was this the right decision to make? Okay. So as we get closer, right, we're not going to quite remain neutral. Okay. Like, yes, we're staying out of the war, but we're going to practice a policy called cash and carry. Remember that whole Lusitania thing? Right. We're worried about that. So, okay, we are going to sell weapons to any country, but they got to come and pick them up. Okay. And then, okay, because we're worried about countries being able to afford this, okay, we're going to use what's called lend-lease, where if it's vital to the defense of the United States, we will lend, let countries borrow our weapons. Okay. And so FDR, that is the president during most of World War II, the United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, is going to send a lot of weapons to Great Britain, so long as they promise to pay them back at the end of the war. So we're not necessarily being neutral here. Okay. Now, Japan, right? So note, right? Japan is getting a lot of their oil from the United States. Okay. And so we are not happy with their invasion of a lot of Asian countries. Okay. So one way, okay, to do this, right, is we want them to stop invading other countries, but Japan refuses. Okay. So we tell them, hey, you need to withdraw from China or we're going to stop trading with Japan. Okay. So what we decide to do is we freeze all Japanese assets. So what does that mean? Okay. Essentially, any Japanese money that is in American banks, Japanese businesses cannot access that money. Okay. So we negotiate with Japan for 6 months, and we're trying to kind of come to terms that are going to make both sides happy with this agreement. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at prior to the war. Okay. So we're going to end it there for right now, and we're going to look at what comes next. Have a wonderful rest of the day.